Ms. Perry Martin, do you know when we pay, the federal government pays Social Security, does that come out of the U.S. Treasury?
I don't believe so.
So if a check was cut to build a road or a bridge in the United States, or fund our military, or pay for the men and women who are wearing the United States military uniform, would that come from the United States Treasury?
I actually don't know the answer.
It does.
Okay.
So it come from the United States Treasury. And under the Democrats' H.R. 1 from last Congress, where they would take federal dollars and put it in politicians' reelection campaigns, would that come from the U.S. Treasury?
It would, yes.
It would come from the U.S. Treasury. So it all come from the same pile. So when we see the Democrats' bill from last Congress that every Democrat member voted for that puts federal dollars into politicians' reelection campaigns, it comes from the U.S. Treasury, the same U.S. Treasury that pays Social Security. Is that accurate?
Yes, it does.
I think that's important to know. Let me shift gears to you, Harmeet Dillon, if I can. When we traditionally think about free speech problems, we think about government censorship. But today we see government working hand in glove with private businesses to censor speech. Ms. Dillon, based on your litigation experience, is it unprecedented for the American government to reach into private organizations to censor American speech?
Well, I don't know what happened in prior days, but I can say that the advent of social media has made speech a multi-billion, even trillion-dollar corporate endeavor, which is a good thing in a way. It has actually allowed many citizens whose voices never would have been heard by people in different states or around the world to speak. But that is only true if they're allowed to speak and be heard, if they're not being censored by the heavy hand of the government. And so today, the impact of government cooperation with liberal organizations and liberal executives at big tech companies in San Francisco has had a negative impact on speech in America.
Thank you. Let me shift gears slightly. In the 2020 election, we saw jurisdictions, including in my state of Wisconsin, municipal government jurisdictions accept private funding for elections, commonly referred to as Zuckerbucks. And again in 2022, we saw a similar pattern of private funding for elections, and in particular in the city of Milwaukee. Milwaukee Votes 2022 campaign again took private funding. Could you comment how Zuckerbucks influenced the 2020 election?
Well, absolutely, and you see, in addition to the states you mentioned, Pennsylvania, Georgia specifically, and CEIR used its funding to embed individuals in county election operations.
And how did it impact the election?
Well, those employees turned out the vote more in high-density urban areas, that is, Democrat jurisdictions. And so the impact was tens of thousands of votes in swing states that would otherwise not have been being cast in a partisan fashion, and
So
that's the risk.
In your opinion, it had a partisan impact on the election. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, in swing states.
So yes, it is. So should non-government, in your professional opinion, should non-government entities that provide funding for elections be able to receive tax-deductible contributions?
Absolutely not. Zuckerbucks should be banned, and certainly these activities, if they were allowed, not be tax deductible.
Ms. Perry Martin, do you think they should also not be tax-deductible donations?
I do believe that, yes, and I think a lot of the states have, there's 25 states that have already passed this. State legislatures have recognized this problem.
So half the states have recognized this and successfully blocked it, half the states have not. And including my state, Wisconsin, has room for improvement here. Can you comment, Ms. Martin, about how we could improve our campaign finance system for parties and candidates to make it more transparent for voters?
Yeah, that is a very good question. Right now, there are so many provisions of our campaign finance law that are overly complicated and honestly don't make a lot of sense. Modernizing and simplifying certain provisions of the law would make campaign finance laws more transparent for voters. For example, the limit on party-coordinated expenditures. Voters know that parties exist to promote candidates and political philosophies they espouse. It doesn't make any sense to have this limited amount of money that they can spend.
Thank you very much. I want to jump to you, if I can, Mr. Spaulding, with the final minute that I have here. Are you employed by Common Cause?
Yes.
And do you know the tax status of your employer, Common Cause?
Well, we have a 501c4 and a 501c3.
Well, are you employed by both
Actually,
the 501c4
I'm employed by the 501c3, Common Cause Education.
You're employed by the 501c3,
Correct.
not the 501c4.
Correct.
Okay. Under the Disclose Act, passed out of the House last Congress, strongly supported, I believe, by President Biden, would have required Common Cause to reveal its top donors, contrary to privacy protections under current law. Is that accurate?
Did you say the Disclose Act?
Yes, sir.
No, it is not accurate.
The Disclose Act would not require the disclosure.
The Disclose Act would require organizations that spend $10,000 on certain campaign-related disbursements like IEs, electioneering communications, we're a nonpartisan organization. We don't endorse candidates.
And Common Cause is not
Neither does
engaged in that activity.
Neither Common Cause nor Common Cause Education Fund endorse candidates. We don't do campaign-related work. We're a nonpartisan advocacy organization.
Very good.